Welcome back to the Family Farms podcast. I'm Justin. I'm joined, as always, by my lovely wife, LaBre.
Ah.
It's been a pretty big week on the farm.
Yeah.
Some new additions. Really a lot of work today, which is probably not the best for a podcast day. Another lesson learned, I think.
Yeah, we should have waited till tomorrow to do all the stuff that we did today.
Yes, but the new addition kind of had a big play in why we did what we did today and how it came about. So we got our first Angora rabbit, which I'm really excited about. I'm pretty happy. I don't want to go into too many details about the breed or why we specifically chose that breed. If you know about Angoras, then you already have a pretty decent understanding of why we would go with that. Currently, we had lion heads, but we wanted to expand, and we wanted to expand farm business opportunities, and this was the best choice for that at the moment. But we're really excited about it. She's a cute bunny. I can't lie to y'all, like, she's kind of a weird-looking bunny. Like, I've seen Angoras online. Like, I'm sure a lot of people have seen Angoras online, but until you see one in person and how they move compared to other rabbits.
And their ears.
The way they like come up and flop over. And just the fur. Like wool. I'm so sorry. I don't want any specific rabbit people to get upset at me.
She is so fluffy.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah. I still think Hank is softer. Like, I think we have the world's softest cat. Like, his fur is just awesome.
Yeah, but because the wool, like, because of that wool texture, like, he's just slick.
He's slick. Yeah, it just has a cool feeling, though.
Yeah.
Like, her fur is awesome, though. And it's going to be definitely a learning curve because I think, from what I've read, it's like a weekly brushing thing. We're going to have to play that out. Right now, I kind of want to do daily.
Yeah.
She's new, and like that way she'll get used to us. But
when I was petting her today, I thought she might need some brushing, but I was dealing with Hank and Rory, who really want to love her so hard. Oliver was asleep.
Rory wants to love her, but I don't know about Hank. Hank, I can't tell if it's like a prey mindset or if he wants to be friends. Like he's a little tough on the bunnies, but
he's like that with Rory though, and they're best friends.
That's true. I don't know. It's interesting, but he was like getting in, like when he was even able to be around the cage, he would put his arm in. So we do something. I don't know if it's weird for people when they get bunnies or not, but I kind of like it. However, we have the worst cage for it, but I like to have the rabbit like inside with us at least for like the first couple days when they come home, so that way they get used to us and know us. So this bunny is a little weird. Like Coop and Honey, when we got them, they were super friendly and like they were skittish, and Coop's still a little skittish still, just because being a male and being a buck and things like that's a little bit different personality, but we were able to find that treat that they were like yes. And this rabbit, like strawberries, she wasn't in the strawberries. The owner, celery. the person, the breeder, I guess you'd say, that sold her to us, like, they gave treats with it, but she didn't really care for the treats. She did eat the celery, but she didn't want to take it from us. Like, Honey, like, it was carrots, but we didn't have any carrots that I saw in the house. Maybe.
Yeah, we've cooked a lot of carrots recently.
But maybe if we get some carrots, that'll help out. But then, because of that, we had to completely clean out the quail cage today, which was a big task.
Yes. Oh, my goodness. I didn't even do most of the work, but I'm exhausted from it.
I was really planning on getting in here and talking about, like, man, it's awesome. My knee's feeling better, and I've been able to do more farm work and deal with the animals. And with having the one rabbit in the house has been so great, but now my knee hurts today. Because that was a lot of off-level work and just picking up things. And
my ankle's sore. My back is sore.
Farming's not easy work.
No.
Farming, homesteading, whatever you want to call it. Like, it's not easy. It definitely comes a lot of work, which is a fact we'll get into more in the subject of this podcast.
It's very rewarding work, though.
It's rewarding work, and I'm glad that we did everything we did today.
We're going to sleep great tonight.
Oh, yeah. Hopefully I wake up for work tomorrow. And that's the thing. Like, if you're somebody that's able to do this full time, it's a little bit different, right? But when you have to get up and go to work the next day, it's a little bit more difficult to do that. And so I've got to be, like, I think we finished today, like, just before 7, and I get home at 4 o'clock. So, I mean, that's 3 hours that I didn't just run straight outside.
Yeah, we had dinner.
And then went outside. But, like, that's still 3 hours after being home that you're finally like, all right, now I'm going to relax. Obviously, now we have to do a podcast, which is also extremely rewarding and enjoyable to do. But, I don't know, like, I've got to set a time in my mind of, like, I'm going to be done doing outside work by this time, which never happens.
Yep.
But you set that guideline. It's easier this time of year because it's getting dark so early. Yeah. But, like, if I don't, it's just you're dead. Right? Yeah. So you got to you can't have too many animals.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, it helps with our particular situation because we've sleep trained our son.
That does
So like he has a bedtime.
Yeah.
There's a set time that he goes to bed. So we had to be done because we both take on that burden of getting him ready for bed.
Yeah. But in the summertime, I've pushed it to where like you are inside and you have everything ready, and I just come in and read with him and pray, and then he goes to bed. And so like my portion can be a little bit less than what your portion is, just because of me pushing myself probably a little too hard outside.
Yeah.
Another thing that we learned about just like the other day, really, I don't know what we did, but Monday through Friday of last week, like I don't know, Rural King had to sell on feed, so we went and got feed. I remember that, but like farm related, I don't know if maybe we just like, I don't know if I just forgot everything or what, but I don't know. It was like this weekend was packed with farm type stuff.
Well, mostly because of the new edition.
Well, yes, and I was hoping. So we've been looking for a while, and finally some popped up, and some Angora rabbits popped up, and that's the breed we knew we wanted.
Mm-hmm.
And they popped up, but they were in a city that's like an hour and 15 minutes away.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was really trying to convince Bree, like, you should go out there on Friday and pick the rabbit up. And like, it just didn't work out. She had other things to do that day, and so
I'd already had my day planned out in my head.
Yeah.
And y'all know how that is. Like, you plan out your day, and someone comes in and tries to like throw a curveball and completely change it up. That'll mess you up.
Even if it's your loving spouse who's just asking you to do a nice thing for them. I'm just messing. But we also have plans on that Saturday, and then there's big stuff going on this coming Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
Sadly, not farm-related big stuff. I don't want to allude to that, make it sound like that. But we didn't know when we were going to be able to get out there and get the rabbit.
Mm-hmm.
It just so happened that the person ends up messaging us like halfway through the day on Saturday saying, hey, I'm coming to Knoxville. Can you meet us? And we're like, awesome.
Yep.
Sounds great. So Bree runs out there to do that, and then it takes way longer than it should.
Yes.
Nothing against the lady.
No.
But it takes way longer than it should. And like it was because of the pedigree, it seems like.
Yeah,
like she forgot the paperwork at her house in Morristown and then stopped to print it from her husband's work or something.
Yeah. She had her husband stop at his work and print it, and then they filled it out on the drive.
Yeah. And so like we're wanting to breed rabbits, obviously. I mean, that's why we are in some of this, and we have decided like, no, we're going to have to do that ahead of time. So like once the kits are ready to be sold, once they've been weaned and are ready to go to the new owner, we're going to fill out every single pedigree paper and just have it on file, ready to go to the new owner. So that way, the moment somebody says, hey, I'd like this rabbit, and we schedule a time, we're ready to go. Now, she can't help that she forgot it. But her plan was always to fill it out in the car, which is still going to, take time. I'd like to digitize. Like, I'd rather just be a file, and we can email it and still give somebody a printed copy, but like, I don't know.
She had like this whole little goodie bag, which was awesome because it had the feed that she was on, some treats, and the paperwork and all that, which was great. But like personally, and this all happened last minute for both of us. Like she was just like, "Hey, it looks like I'm going to be in Knoxville. I know it's super last minute."
I don't blame her. It just gave us something to think about.
It just gave us an idea. Like when the time comes for us to breed, we'll have all of that filled out and ready in that little goodie bag for that specific bunny, and be ready to just take it. Yeah,
because I want to do the goodie bag anyway.
Yeah,
because like I give them it's not even really a goodie bag; it's just a transition bag.
Yeah,
giving them some feed, and I don't even like to give some of the Timothy hay that we've already given them. But I was just something to think about. But the other thing that we just discovered this weekend is something called chip drop. I'm sure a lot of people already know what that is, but I was super stoked about it because we have a ridiculous amount of oak trees in our yard. I mean, just stupid amount of oak trees, and that causes a lot of leaves to fall every year.
Yep.
And blowing out the leaves blows out all the mulch from the flower beds, not just the garden stuff, but like the flower beds get blown out. And I'm thinking, how much money am I gonna have to spend on mulch to replenish all these beds? And so we found a thing called Chip Drop, and it's completely free. And so you sign up for free and tell them where you want the chips dropped at your house and where you live and your personal information, really.
Yeah.
And then they match you with arborists in your area who are already cutting down trees and chipping them and need a place to dump them. Otherwise, they're going to have to pay to send them somewhere.
Yep. Now, you can opt in to make a $20 donation.
Oh, okay. I didn't know.
To do that, because it's something about the cost of them dumping them or whatever. They factored in that it'd be about $20 for them to go dump them wherever. So you can opt in to do that. And depending on how this goes, I'm sure we'll opt in.
If we use enough of
Yeah.
them, yeah. And you can even get logs, which I thought was pretty cool.
Yeah.
But it didn't say how big the logs were, and that's
It
my
said
worry.
you're going to need a chainsaw and
they'll be
a
long.
wood splitter.
Yeah. Well, depending on what you want to do with it, but like, if it was like 6, 8 inch, even
Like-
10-inch diameter logs, like I'm down for that. But I don't want them bringing like a tree trunk to the house. Like maybe if you had land, like totally I get it, but not where we're set up right now.
No.
I don't need trees being dropped off at the house.
No, we got enough trees.
Yeah.
I don't need no more.
No, but it's a pretty cool program. I wish we were sponsored by them, but we're truly not. We're just hoping, like, we signed up for it this morning. We finished the process because you can actually put a picture,
which
of
is really
exactly
neat
where you want.
because then it shows them exactly where it is. Because if you've got a weird spot that you wanted to put it, you're like, oh well, to the left at the fence row next to the thingamabob or whatever, then you can just put a picture and say, this is where I want you to drop it. Write your description.
And I told her to tell them, like, it's cool that they can drive through the grass because, like, it's a hard place where we want them. It's on pavement. It's on concrete where we want it, but they may not be able to make that turn easily. And it's like, cut through the grass if you need to. It's not a big deal. But it's a pretty cool program, and I'm excited to see what they bring. My understanding is, like, it's going to have leaves and different, like, organic material, but that's exactly what I want because we're gonna try some of those methods of mulching in the garden bed and hopefully improve the soil that we have. We still haven't done the soil test yet. It's on my list. I'd kind of like to do it this week.
This week's fairly busy.
Yes. The evenings aren't super busy, but like the week in general is busy. So
I've got a lot going on.
Yeah, you've got more than I do. But I just thought that was pretty cool, and it opens up a lot of ideas about how we want to mulch things and change the, different things. And I've been really thinking about raised beds still. We've not even had a chance to talk about that together.
Yeah.
We've been thinking a lot about raised beds and where they're going to go and like what kind I want to buy or build or what materials and all that stuff. So
trying to plan out because one of them I would like flowers. Yeah. Because we bought this wonderful bag of seed, just of a bunch of mixed.
When you need pollinators, right?
Variety. So I would like one that's just beautiful flowers, and I want to try succession plantings to where I'm going to have a nice long season of flowers. So that would be wonderful. And then what other things we want to plant?
Which it does remind me.
And if we get going and we get it set up in January, I can plant potatoes.
Which would be awesome. I would like to grow potatoes, especially like even sweet potatoes, regular potatoes. Potatoes, right?
We like potatoes.
And so the thing that I was thinking, though, was that one other thing that I forgot is we did go to the thrift store.
Oh, yeah.
Like, the things you can find at the thrift store that are farm-related are pretty cool. Like, there was a cool shovel that we saw, and we considered it, but we didn't end up buying it. And I'm not sure if we needed it or not.
It's more of like a snow shovel.
But what we went for was kind of weird. We went for pet bowls because we knew we were going to be getting another rabbit soon. We weren't sure. Like, we'd already talked to that lady, but we didn't think we were going to be getting it from her that soon.
Yeah.
And so we went to look at pet bowls, and last time that's how we got one of our rabbit's bowls was from there, and it was like 50 cents.
Yeah.
When at the store it's like $5. And so I'm like,
crazy.
Which is not that expensive. It's $5, but 50 cents, like that's way cheaper. And so I'd much rather spend 50 cents on a bowl for an animal that I can just wash out. So we went and looked, and they didn't really have what we wanted. And then I started looking at other stuff, and they had these like weird. They're stainless steel bowls, I guess you'd call them.
Yeah.
They fit in each other, and they have like a flat handle on the side, which is pretty nice.
Kind of like.
Well, you don't want to pause that long.
Serving dishes.
Yeah, they're like little serving dishes, but they get progressively bigger. So we've got like the smallest to the largest, and they were $1.75 each, but they were half off of that. So I was like, I can't pass this up, and it's stainless steel, so it's going to be the same thing you'd buy if you bought like our dog's bowl, and our cat's bowls are stainless steel. Like, everything's steel. So I was like, why not just go ahead and get this for the price that it is? But and then the reason I want to say that is we even got books. We got a book about rabbitry, which I'm pretty excited to read about, and we got a book about gardening throughout the year for $1 each.
Yep.
Books are expensive, guys. Like normally, even at like the used bookstore, they can be expensive.
Yeah. You
go to a thrift store and you can get a book for $1 that's going to benefit your farm or benefit your homestead, whatever you want to call it. And that's beneficial because knowledge doesn't just exist on YouTube. And a lot of these people have been doing things for a long time. We talk about living traditional or going back to the old ways, and we're learning old ways in a modern way. But having these books to thumb through whenever you've got time is pretty neat. But the other thing was the basket you got for cutting flowers.
Oh, I love it. And like if you watch anybody that does
Or Instagram.
homesteading, you look on Instagram about that, or have a flower garden. They all have these beautiful U-shaped baskets that are kind of open-ended, and it's just a gorgeous basket to collect flowers in. So it just really gets me excited for spring.
It's a nice shape, and it's what everybody's using, but we got it for like $250.
Yes.
Because it was on sale too, and it was like you can't beat the deals like that at a thrift store. So it's interesting. Like you don't normally think of the thrift store as being where you'd go to get like your farm implements and things that would benefit your farm. But man, I mean, like we racked up big for $14.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we got a light for the outside of the house for $5, and I was like, might as well try it. And said it works, so we'll see how that goes. We still haven't attached it yet, but it'll look better than the current lights that we have out there.
Yeah, they're just a little outdated looking. This one's a little bit more modern, so I think it'll fit better. And especially like we have plans down the road for painting the outside of the house and just updating things around.
We want to make the house resellable because we would like to make some money whenever we move on to the next farm. Mm-hmm. Like whenever we decide to leave and actually go on in our journey of farming, we want to be able to actually sell the house for more. Yeah. Not just focus on animals and that sort of thing, which, I mean, animals really take the priority, right?
Yeah.
But I think I want to go ahead and just flip into the main subject of the podcast today, which is talking about like why you should just go ahead and get started with animals, not to hesitate or waffle, be tossed back and forth. Because I think that's something that a lot of people struggle with is they do the research, they spend the time listening to the podcast, watching the videos, reading the articles about chickens or ducks, goats, whatever animal it is. Even when you've already owned animals, like you have your chickens or you have your ducks or whatever, and then you look at the next animal and you're like, man, I just don't know if we can do this. What if something goes wrong? What if we don't like it? What if this and that? And I really just want to say, don't worry about it and just do it.
Mm-hmm. You can always resell it. And a lot of times you're going to get either what you put into it back out or more depending on what you've bought and like how long you've had it and things.
Yeah. So like if you buy chickens, right? Like so say that you're completely new to the whole thing and you want to get into chickens and you go to even the farm store, like Tractor Supply or whatever your local store is, and you buy chicks and you're buying them for $4 a piece, $6 a piece is what they normally run somewhere in there. And you buy those chicks and you raise them up from chicks into pullets or even chickens. And then you decide like, man, these chickens, like they're noisy or even if you
bought too many.
You bought too many or you bought straight runs and you got like 6 roosters and 2 hens, you know, like, oh man, what am I going to do? Don't worry about those things because if you bought them at that price, you've got some feed cost in them, but they've not ate that much, and you should be able to sell a chicken that's pullet age for twice what you bought the chick for, and then you should be able to sell a laying hen if you get that far for like $15.
$15-$20 depending on the type of chick and like what kind of egg it lays.
Yeah, and some people are just ready to get going. That's how we were when we got our chickens. Is like we didn't want to deal with chicks and it'd be 8 months before we were getting eggs. Like we wanted eggs in the spring, and so we bought laying hens. So that way we bought 2 laying hens. We bought 1 that was a pullet.
Yeah.
But we bought laying hens, so that way we would have, chickens that were already laying and ready to go because people want that. So don't worry about it, especially with chickens. But it goes with any animal.
Yeah.
Like a lot of these animals that you buy young, you'll be able to potentially sell for more, especially for poultry. Like you'll be able to sell the poultry that you get for more money than you paid for it.
Yeah, I'm not sure about other animals because we don't have experience in that.
And moving them, no,
but
I think like
you kind of browse around on Craigslist and things and see different animals and things that are for sale. So like things don't really last that long.
No, they don't last long. And like say you buy a goat, like a goat can be anywhere from like $150 to $300 depending on pedigree and breed and all that stuff. And from what I've seen, that's just the going price for a goat. So if you buy a goat and you think like, oh, wow, this goat's a lot, you should be able to sell that goat, right? And I just think that people spend so much time worrying and waffling and deciding, and ultimately, in a lot of instances, you're going to do it anyways and you're going to enjoy it. And so just go ahead and give it a shot. Now, that doesn't mean you will enjoy it.
Yeah.
I do want to put one caveat is all I'm saying that like if you're waffling because you're like, am I going to be able to afford this, to feed it, or to house it, then don't get the animal.
Yeah. But if you know that you can do those things, go ahead and get the animal. There's no reason to just piddle paddle around.
Yeah, no, that's silly. Like if you think you can, if you already know that you have the money to feed it and the ability to house the animal, then you should just go ahead and do it and figure out if that animal is for you.
Yeah, because not every animal is for everyone. Like you don't need to jump in and get a 1,000-pound dairy cow right away. You need to start smaller. Like if you don't have any farm animals at all, you might want to start with some quail or chickens, some bunnies, something small, and work your way up to that dairy cow.
Yeah. No, I think that people really have the dreams of the homesteads they see on YouTube, but those homesteads weren't built overnight. Those people didn't just, somehow buy 20 or 30 acres and immediately get a cow the next day.
Yeah. This has been built on years.
And even if you get a dog, right? Like you said, you have dogs, you have cats. Dogs and cats, for the most part, nowadays live inside.
Yep.
Or they'll come up to the back door for you to feed and water them if they're outside animals, right? But farm animals don't live inside. Nope. As we've learned with the most recent bunny, like, dude, you just don't want farm animals in your house. We heard about somebody that has button quail in basically a china cabinet type situation in their house.
In their house, yep. And it's set up like a beautiful little fairy garden thing, and the lady goes in there and gets her little eggs out every day.
I'm sure it's very pretty, but I can't imagine what the smell must be like that, or the cleaning requirements. So,
because like ours, like it has the drop down tray, and like
they go to the bathroom a lot. I don't know how many she has, but the point is, they're not inside animals, and so like it's raining, it's snowing, it's all these things. You will have to go and check on and take care of these animals, and that is a chore.
Yeah,
and it becomes a lot every day. So definitely start with animals, but maybe think about what you're going to start with. Like chickens are a pretty decent starter. I think quail are probably one of the best because the space requirement is so much less, and just the overall investment can be so much less.
Yeah, they're a little less involved. Like you can go out and mess with them one time a day. The chickens, you are going to have to go out there at least twice a day.
At least.
Yeah. You might have to go out there more often in the summertime to give extra water, or if it's raining, different things, whatever. But you really don't need to just jump in head first.
Yeah, I mean, the best way to learn is learning by experiencing.
Yes.
But I think start now. Like if you have
start now and start small.
Start now and start small. Exactly. Like if you have an animal in mind and you've been looking at it, don't also wait until you sell your current house and move somewhere else to start raising animals. If you don't have farm animals, you should get at least some quail, some chickens, or some rabbits, something that most HOAs allow. If your HOA doesn't allow chickens, I guarantee you they won't catch you on rabbits or quail.
Exactly.
And they won't be able to enforce that rule because it's not written out in their code. And those animals aren't considered farm animals. So if you think, I live in an HOA, but I'm really interested in homesteading, before you move to a place, consider getting some rabbits or something that'll be something you have to take care of every day. But definitely, like if you're thinking about getting rabbits and you have the ability to buy a hutch, or you already have a hutch and you know you can afford the feed and to take care of them, go ahead and do it.
Yeah.
Like there's no reason to wait. Like a lot of times we question stuff, but like the Angora rabbit, like we just decided like this is going to be more work to do the fur and to deal with that and the wool and the maintenance of that rabbit. But we're never going to know if we can do it, or if we're going to enjoy doing it until we just do it.
Exactly. And I don't know if it's just because of the type of people we are, but when you are doing this, you do need to make sure that your spouse is on point with this, first of all. So like, don't just go off and be like, well, I'm doing this or whatever, because it does become a huge burden for one person, depending on how far you jump in, how quickly, just because we've both been injured during the
You're going to need help eventually because you're going to be hurt, you're going to be sick, you're not always going to be able to do it. Or if you still work, maybe you have to work late and you need somebody else to help. Like there's a whole lot of reasons that you're going to need help.
So that's just my one little tidbit to add in. Like if you can do this, you have the ability to feed and shelter this animal, your spouse is on board, there's no reason to wait.
I will say on the spouse being on board part, and it's the same thing as what we're saying, is if your spouse isn't on board,
Mm-hmm.
and so your spouse is more unsure than you are, if you're like, we are gonna be farmers or we're gonna be homesteaders,
Mm-hmm.
that's awesome. But if your spouse says, I don't know if we can do this, say, okay, can we figure out a way to do this on a trial basis?
Mm-hmm.
What animal can we get that's going to either be able to get us the best return on our investment if things don't work out,
Mm-hmm.
and that has the lowest entry cost? So we
Yep.
can experience keeping animals and animal
Mm-hmm.
husbandry without breaking the bank and being
Yeah.
able to get out if we need to.
Well, like in our particular situation, I wasn't 100% sold on the quail and even Hank, our cat. I wasn't 100% sold on them. My stipulation in that was, you've got to take care of them.
Mm-hmm.
That they're your responsibility. Now, I have helped.
I made it a long time on the quail.
You made it a long time. And you've still done a long time on messing with Hank's litter box and stuff. That's just one thing that Hank is an awesome, awesome pet. I don't like litter boxes. I don't
The
do
litter
it.
box can be rough, but you deal with the child parts of that, and so
Yeah.
like, no, it's cool. I can scoop the litter box if you'll deal with baby stuff.
Yeah. I can deal with dirty diapers. I dealt with potty training while on crutches. Like, I can deal with that stuff. The cat, I can't.
Yeah.
That's not me.
Yeah.
But make sure your spouse is on board, even if it's just like in our situation where you come to an agreement. Okay, we're getting this animal. Show me that you can take care of it.
Mm-hmm.
All right. They're going to need help at some point.
Yeah.
Chime in,
Let's be honest. We all, even though we respect our spouses, sometimes we look at them like they're children. It's like, you're going to have to show me that you can do this. Just like when your kid wants a dog or a cat or whatever, you're like, I'll get it for you. I have a feeling I'm going to have to end up interfering at some point in this. But
Yep.
if you think that you can take care of it, let's just see what happens.
Yep. Which is exactly why our farm has grown.
Yeah.
From
And grown rapidly.
Yes.
But that's because we weren't afraid to take the risk.
Mhm.
And what we've learned, every animal that we've gotten, we've enjoyed it.
Yeah.
And we enjoy watching them and hanging
Yeah.
out with them. Now my cat's biting me after I say that. but we've enjoyed the whole process and everything involved in it, and the benefits that you get out of it. Because that's the thing about farming that's different than, like, I don't want to sound mean, but it's the thing that's different than getting other animals. Like, you get a hamster or you get a dog, even in certain instances. Like, you get the little lap toy dogs,
Mhm.
and like, you're not really getting much besides like maybe a relationship.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's true with a hamster. I've never had a hamster, but
It's
with
been
farm
such a long
animals,
time.
every time you get a farm animal, like, you are going to be able to reap some kind of reward and
Mhm.
some kind of benefit from this. Either that's economical, you're able to make money from these
Mhm.
animals because of what they produce, or you're just able to save money in some.
Yeah.
Well, are any of us really saving money from the eggs that we get? I don't know, but you can make money sometimes by selling products. But like, when you get the rabbits, you get the fertilizer, and then you're able to see what that fertilizer is able to do for your plants.
Yeah. That's going to be so good in our raised beds.
Yeah. Or the dream raised bed. I dream of raised beds. That'll be our first T-shirt.
I was going to go for the full-on family farms.
I dream in raised beds. I don't even know where I was going. Oh, but like, the quail produce the eggs, and they can be a meat source if that's ever necessary.
Yeah.
The chickens provide eggs, but the chickens also are doing a pretty good job of making their own compost manure down there. Because I had to move around some of the dirt today, and we had rich benefits. So when you get these animals, like,
that soil
looks good.
Pristine. That's the best soil in our entire yard.
Yeah, our whole property, that's the best soils in that little lot. But when you get these animals, you get such a benefit. Even like a cat, like, unless you got a barn cat, or like Hank's hope is that if there ever is a mouse in the house, there won't be long, right?
Yeah.
But you get such a rich benefit from farm animals that you're not going to get from other animals that you might buy. And you don't have to have animals to be a farmer or a homesteader.
No.
It's hard to do the homestead like we see on YouTube, where we're the self-sufficient homestead, and we try to produce 90% of our stuff that we require on our homestead, which is great and awesome. And I'm super glad for anybody who's able to put in the work to do that.
Yeah.
But if you just like gardening and growing vegetables, like, you don't have to have animals.
No.
I know that's a weird podcast for somebody that's saying just go ahead and get animals, but I do want to just real fast in that. Like, I'm saying go ahead and get animals to learn if you want the animals.
Yeah.
So maybe you're going to learn, I don't like animals.
And
that's cool.
If you fall in love with gardening and like just growing food, flowers, you need some bunnies.
Yeah, okay. The rabbits are worth it in that because, and I'm so interested in the idea of, I don't know what you even describe it as, if it is considered permaculture or whatever, but I think it's, in my mind, it's working with what God has created, because God created us to steward His creation.
Yep.
And His creation includes animals and it includes vegetables. We were created to cultivate and to care. And when we do that in the right ways and we cultivate both crops and animals, we can combine the two to benefit the other. And so if you do love gardening, just get the rabbits.
Just get them.
They're going to be able to eat any food waste that you have, or any overabundance of crops that you have. Because as we all know, like if you planted a ton of tomatoes, you're getting a ton of tomatoes, and it's hard to eat a ton of tomatoes. Like we can't all...
Because like there'll be a bunch come ripe at the same time.
Yeah.
And you're like, I can't... Like,
obviously, you don't want to feed your rabbits a bunch of tomatoes.
Yeah.
There's limits on that.
You know, you just got to look at the different things. Like they can have certain stuff or whatever. But
my point is that what you produce from your garden can be fed to your rabbits, especially what you don't eat. So the parts you would cut off, the celery, the butt of the celery, or whatever it is that you may remove.
I tossed those chickens, which the bunnies could have had them, but the celery hearts and leaves from that when I made gumbo today. I even had the ends of the onion and the peel from that.
And even if it's one rabbit, but as a gardener, definitely you're going to want that rabbit, because it's a factory. You put in what you didn't eat, and it puts out rich fertilizer to produce more of what you want to eat. Yeah. It's the best fertilizer that you can get. Like a lot of people don't realize that, but rabbit manure
is literally perfect.
Yeah. It's high in nitrogen. It's high in, I believe it's phosphorus, or I can't think of what the word is, but it's very high in what your plants need to thrive and to live. And so the rabbits are like the perfect animal for a gardener. And so even if you've not considered it, but you love gardening, like get the rabbit.
Get you some bunnies.
That's a hard one to really not, like, if you are on the fence about rabbits, get off the fence.
Yeah.
Because there's no reason to be on it.
No.
Because they're so easy. They're loving, they're kind, and they're simple.
Yeah. Now you might get scratched every now and then, but
that's just if you're wanting to handle them a whole lot. Like if you're just wanting the manure and you're wanting them to eat your food so you have less food waste. Yeah. Then that is the perfect animal. Because like you might want to consider like a bigger hutch in that case. Like you won't want to do something smaller. But in that instance, a bigger hutch and having that rabbit just for that one purpose is going to be great. The other thing too, like, but I really think like if you do want to be a gardener, like I said, if you don't like animals but you love growing vegetables, then you don't have to have animals. Just because everybody on YouTube is having all these animals and they've got cows and they've got goats and sheep, and you're like, man, that's what homesteading is. Homesteading is whatever you want it to be, and that's the same thing about having a farm. Having a farm is whatever that you want it to be. If you want to have animals, then have the animals. But if you don't feel obligated to. I think we fall into trends of just following what everybody online that we see is doing. Yeah. Instead of just living out what we enjoy. And there's no reason to farm and to raise things that you don't like. If you don't eat eggs, there's no reason to have egg-laying birds unless you're going to eat them for their meat. Yeah. If you don't drink milk, don't buy a milk cow. Like, these are things that people don't think about. But, like, they think like, oh, that's really cool, and so I'm going to buy that. But then they have no point for it because they're not using it, right? Like, unless we're going to use pigs to clear land or to eat, I'm not going to have pigs. Nope. Like, they're cute sometimes. I mean, I had a run-in with a pig this week that like left me smelling like manure for the rest of the day.
We all had to come home and change and shower. Like, whoo, that pig.
But like, so like, get animals 100%. Like if you think you want animals, then get like. Yep. I still really want pigeons. like, and it's not that I'm even on the fence about it. It's just like I don't want to move too fast. Like you can move too fast.
Yeah. Like we've got our setup. We added the new bunny. We need to make sure that we can handle the grooming aspect of that before we add any more animals in.
Well,
and we have plans to breed the others and stuff like there's things in the works
Yeah.
that we need to focus on a little bit more before we add in another species.
Yeah. No, I 100% agree. Like and that for us too, it's also a factor in the cost because you can't have the pigeons without building what people refer to as a loft, but it's still just a hutch, a pen, an enclosure, whatever you want to call it, for the pigeons, right? And so I don't want to put that investment in yet until I've recouped or at least, healed from
and we'll have to also figure out like where that will be. There's some planning.
It's logistics.
Things involved, but
we're not ready.
Yeah.
So I'm talking to people who are ready, right? If you are ready for chickens and I think there's people out there who already have the coop. Like we actually had our coop. We got really lucky on our coop.
Yeah.
We were able to get it at an estate sale on the half off day. So we bought a chicken coop for $70 that you would buy at Tractor Supply for like $300.
It still had the plastic on the thing on the windows. Like it was so brand new. And that same one, I looked it up. It was $400.
Yeah. So we got a great deal. So we already had it, but then I'm like, I wanted quail and rabbits. And she wanted chickens, and I'm like, man, I don't know about the chickens. Now I really like the chickens, and not I think the quail eggs are better, but I think the chickens are just fun to watch.
Yeah,
and it's fun to throw things to them.
We don't get a lot of eggs from them because we weren't very particular about what breed and such we got. We just wanted some. I wanted some that laid fun colors, so I got my one that laid a pretty blue egg, and then we needed another layer, so we got one that laid giant brown eggs.
Yeah. And then we've got a Polish that was a pullet, so it's not laid yet.
So that probably won't be till spring.
And it still won't lay a lot, but it looks fun.
It'll lay a little white egg, and I got a little rainbow of eggs. I mean, we might add one more chicken to that area, and I'm hoping for a blue egger or an olive egger.
You already have a blue egger.
That's what I mean, an olive egger.
Yeah. I like the idea of like a Rhode Island Red or something that produces a lot, but we were on the fence about chickens because I'm like, I don't really want to deal with chickens because I know it's more work, but you also learn, and we learned. I'm sure you can hear the cat, and I apologize. He doesn't do anything until 9:00 at night, and that's where we're at right now.
Yep.
But we were on the fence about it, but I'm glad that we just jumped in and we didn't wait any longer than we did because we got them in the spring.
Yep.
And we've had all summer with them. We're into fall now. It's fun to watch them. It's like they say that chickens don't eat fallen leaves, but there's no fallen leaves in there, and so that's pretty cool. like on its own. Like I've heard some people say they do, and some people say they don't. But like I don't see hardly any fallen leaves in there, so they must be eating them, and that's just better for their egg production whenever they do lay.
Yeah.
But I do want to say, like, homesteading and farming are really enjoyable. But the thing is like, you need to just go ahead and get the animals to figure out if the thing that you've been dreaming about is what you want to do. Because while it's fun, while it's rewarding, while tons of people like it, and even people who didn't grow up doing it, who have lived city lives their whole life that get in with animals, they do it and they're like, wow, why was I not doing this growing up? Like it really is a great thing, but it's not for everybody. And it is work. Owning animals is working with animals because animals are work. Yep. And that's something that I think a lot of people don't realize. Even with dogs.
Yeah. With dog, oh my goodness. Don't even get me started with dogs. You can go back to last week's episode where we were talking about the dogs across the way that aren't worked with enough, whatever. But they're a lot of work, but I'm happy and excited. Like, I did grow up with a little bit of exposure to some farm animals when I was very young. There were bunnies around. I remember that. I don't remember ever having to do anything with them, but I remember there were bunnies. There were some baby chicks around, and there was a horse at one point, a little pony. My family quickly learned that 1 acre between 2 houses was not enough.
And they learned animals weren't really for them. And your mom's had to learn that lesson multiple times. With multiple animals she's gotten, been like, oh, wait a minute, I don't like these.
She wants to love an animal. She does. She found out cats are her thing.
Yeah. And outside cats are even better.
The cat likes to be outside, and she wants it to be inside.
Oh, yeah.
But it wants to be outside. But I like the exposure, but I love that Oliver is getting to grow up in this particular environment.
I don't
At
think there's
3
a
years
better way
old,
for a kid to grow up. Like if you've got kids and they're asking you for animals, and maybe that's why you're here. Is you're like, my kids really want something, but I'm not sure about it. Like regardless of age, don't expect them. I don't care if they're 16 years old.
Mm-hmm.
They're a kid. They
Yep.
don't have the right mindset. I mean, some do. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But most young people aren't going to be ready to take care of animals.
Mm-hmm.
But get them the animal and just accept that you're going to have to do some of the work, just so that way when they get older,
Hold
it's
them
not
accountable.
I saw a lady. We went to a farm this weekend, and it was so that Oliver could do some experiences, but it was more about the hayride and the corn maze and the pumpkin patch because we didn't do pumpkins this year.
Yeah.
And so we wanted to go do that thing and the bounce house and all the fun kids stuff.
Yeah.
And then like they have the petting zoo, and I'm like all about the petting zoo. But then they had a chicken run, and I'm interested in the chicken run and like the chicken coop to see like, well, how do they do theirs? Because like I like chickens. But then there's a lady over there taking pictures of chickens like she's on safari in Africa. And I'm like, I'm so glad that my son's not going to grow up being like, oh my gosh, chickens. Because they're Bree was like, do you want to go see the chickens? And I'm like, I saw chickens this morning. Like, I'm interested in the coop. I'll go look at the coop because that's pretty cool the way they did it. But I'm glad that my son's going to grow up around these animals because I think it makes a difference in your life. And studies have shown that.
Yeah.
Like a dog alone is great for a kid, but I think farm animals are even better because you get to experience like where does my food come from?
Mm-hmm.
You know.
Yeah. We may end up eating some of the quail. We may not. Like it just.
No, but we can just explain.
We can explain. Like he knows that we have chickens, and he knows that we eat chicken. So like at 3 years old, he's already made that connection that that is a food source. But at 3 years old, he's also walking a 90-pound dog and giving her commands, and she listens.
Yeah, I think that kid thinks he wants to be a dog trainer at this age. He just doesn't know that's a real thing.
He holds bunnies that are half of his size, and he wants to hold the chicken so bad. And I go and grab him one every now and then and let him hold it because
I've seen too many people that are afraid of animals.
Yeah, he's not.
No, and then another thing too, like if you're one of those people that's like super green conscious, right? And you're like, I don't know, like if animals are even like a good choice in that, like farming and especially doing it the right way.
Yeah.
But farming and homesteading is one of the greenest things that you can do. Buying a Tesla is not green.
No.
There's so many bad things with batteries. Any hybrid, or not hybrids. Hybrids are a little bit better, but anything that uses a battery for propulsion is very bad for the environment. And it's actually, like, I know this is not what the subject of this podcast is, but you can go buy an 80s gas guzzler and look at the difference between what driving that car that's used will do for the environment versus buying the newest hybrid, brand new off the lot. And you're going to do a better thing for the world and the planet by buying the used gas guzzler. Yep. Even though media is going to tell you something different. But if you want to be the best green, eco-friendly person you can be, raising your own food, having your own animals for fertilizer, and sustainably like not putting food waste into the trash and actually reusing that to feed animals is by far the best thing that you're going to be able to do for the environment. So if you're like, I didn't know if this is going to be a good environmental choice, like, nah, you're good. Like this is the best thing you can do. Because think about eggs. If you're producing all of your eggs, instead of buying them at the store, you're reducing on cartons, you're reducing on trucks that need to be moving eggs around the country, the giant farms that are actually part of the problem, that aren't sustainable.
Yeah. Well, what I find, one of the things I like a lot, your mom said it before, she loves so much that we're able to pretty much all of our food scraps, besides meat, we can pass along to the animals. Yeah. Now, does it always happen? No, because we get busy and life happens or whatever. And we can't.
But once we do the worm farm, it won't matter. Yeah. Because we'll still be giving stuff to the chickens and the rabbits when it's still really fresh. But if it's something like we'll take bananas on the drive to church, and then like we can't give that banana peel to any of the animals, right? But you put that in a bag, the worms don't care if it's set in the sun for a couple hours.
Exactly.
Like, And so there's so many ways that you can reduce that food waste, which is a massive part of waste. And you may think but it's food, so it's going to decompose in the landfills, and that's true, but it still takes up space.
It takes up space. It doesn't make gases and things but
the big thing too is that you're filling up trash bags, so it's still plastic waste. The more food you throw away, the more bags that you're going to use. And so then you can feed meat to certain things. Like if you did have pigs, you can feed whatever you want to pigs, from what I understand, and they'll just eat it.
Yep.
But I think that if you're on the fence about animals, don't be on the fence about animals. Now, I understand if you've never had animals, why you might be on the fence, but you might just need to shift your mindset. Especially like if you've never owned any animal, be mindful of what you get, but get something and start farming now. Like start farming today, start farming wherever you are. Don't worry about land requirements or things like that. There's people that keep quail in New York City and Queens. Yeah. It's a pretty interesting video. I think if you just search like New York City quail, that dude will pop up. He's actually got his own YouTube channel. It's a whole YouTube channel, this guy that raises quail, because he was told he couldn't have chickens. And he wanted to be sustainable and raise his own meat. He doesn't look like the person that you'd expect to see saying those things. But the dude's legit, and he's raising meat.
I need to watch this. I haven't.
Yeah, and
we've talked about it a lot, but I've not.
Yeah, and he's awesome, and he's doing it in the city of New York, right? And so anybody can do this. There's people that raise quail on their balcony, or you can at least start gardening. Like if you're thinking about homesteading and you haven't grown a tomato, like that'll be another video. It's like just grow a tomato, because if you're not growing food, it'll change your life. Like it's awesome.
That's basically how this all started before we even moved here. Is I wanted a garden, and where we were living at the time, we didn't really felt like we had that we should, not that we had the right to or whatever, because our landlords were amazing.
But we were planning on moving.
We didn't want to start a permanent, even though it wouldn't be, whatever. We didn't want to start a permanent garden.
We didn't want to plant tomatoes or whatever and then have to dig them up.
Yeah, so even like take out part of the pretty grass, because he's done such a wonderful job maintaining.
Oh yeah, well we had the bed that we could have used. Yeah, but it just we didn't. Well, I think from what I remember, our main concern was like if we move in the next month or however.
Yeah, soon I want to take this with me.
We're gonna want our tomato plants.
Yeah,
what can we do? And so we planted them in planters. Yeah, but we just did it.
It started a whole thing though, because when we got here, one of the first things that we did when we started developing our farm was make a garden bed.
Yeah, before any animals.
Before animals, anything. And like we started that process, and it took time because we tried to put a lot of time and energy and thought into that. Like, all right, we want it this big and we want to be able to have these certain things in there. So we need to dig out the area, try and get rid of weeds. We need to fertilize it and let that sit in there and not just go ahead and immediately dump in plants, because what if it needs to adjust or whatever, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
We ended up getting some bad compost. We had
issues, but you're never going to plan out every issue.
Yeah. You're never going to figure out all this stuff, but we just jumped in and we did it. We started doing that. We started seeing some growth, and then it got warmer, and we're like, animals.
Yeah.
Let's add.
Well, the thing is like, that's the thing. Like, I like what you're saying about the garden bed too, is like, cause we moved here in the fall. And so we had issues in the fall. Like we built a fence. And so that took a lot of my fall.
We built a fence. I hurt my foot.
But before spring even came, I think it was like February, and we're doing garden bed prep because we didn't want to wait. We were like, we got to get started now. Don't wait. Just do it. And cutting the garden bed in, if we decided we didn't like it, you just sow seed back in the soil that you've already prepared, and you're going to be fine.
Yeah. Or in our case, we could just leave it alone and it'll grow up weeds.
Yeah, right. But we made that jump. What's interesting about that is it grows weeds, and we didn't just like plow the grass into the soil. We actually cut it out as sod and put it in other places in the yard that were bare.
And those grew wonderfully.
And we still grew weeds. But what we're saying is we didn't wait. And so we didn't wait when we were at the other place to grow vegetables. We we want to do this. This is even, it's kind of weird. Like, it wasn't like we talked about this before we got married.
No.
But like, we were on the same page once we were married about how this was going to work out, and like what we wanted to do. And we didn't wait. We did what we needed to do, and we didn't even save money. I mean, like, we used some weird white tubs and like poked holes in the bottom of them.
They were $1, and everything else was a lot more.
Yeah, it was a lot more. And so like the garden bed, like we looked at a bunch of different ways, and we wanted to do raised beds or edging and all that stuff. But what it really came down to was black plastic edging and just cutting a big rectangle out of the yard.
Yep.
And it works. It didn't work like we wanted it to, but it works.
But we learned. We will grow.
You're always learning, and that's the whole point of just getting the animals, is so you can start learning now, because you're not going to be perfect. You're never going to study enough You're never going to watch enough videos or like have enough mentors.
Nothing beats hands-on experience.
Exactly.
Nothing.
Yeah, no, I don't think we would be where we are with any of these animals. If like, and like we were able to recite facts. Like before I got the quail, I was able to recite facts about like, well, you know, quail are a much more nutritious per ounce egg than a chicken egg, and blah, 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 blah.
And they say that it tastes better or whatever, but now we know.
Yeah, and we know what it takes to raise the quail. Because they're like, you just need a hutch and these things. It's like, yeah, but you do have to deal with them every day. Sometimes you're going to have some that are loud that need to be cold and to get the whole system in the right order. Yeah. But once you learn how to do it and you persevere, don't and just get the animal to learn if you can take care of the animal. Has been the whole point of this podcast. But I don't want to say wait once you get the animal to decide if you really like it. Don't start working, get burnt out, or have struggles and get annoyed and say, okay, well, I don't like this. I'm not going to keep doing this anymore. Because it's going to be difficult. And you watch, like, there's a reason that we don't do videos too much is because I don't have, like, I'm not getting mean or angry, but it's like I get a focused mindset and, like, almost jaw set, just push through it, and you're not seeming the happiest at the moment, but you're just going to fix whatever went wrong. Yeah. It's kind of where I fall. But you watch people on the internet that have done it a lot longer than us, and maybe that's the difference. And these guys, the reason they have YouTube channels that are successful is because every day something goes wrong. Oh, man, the cow pushed through the fence, and now I don't have milk this morning because the calf got back to its mom overnight or whatever. Yeah. Like, so don't let the struggles cause you to think, like, because don't think, I'm going in this as a trial, and then the first thing that happens, you're like, oh, this isn't for me. Like, push through that. Get to the benefits, especially if you're raising chicks. At least wait till you start getting some eggs before you decide if you like them or not. Yeah. But you're gonna have to push through some things. Chicks are a pain.
Now, my suggestion though, if you are wanting to get into chickens, don't if you've never had chickens before, don't just go buy chicks. Don't.
Yeah, I wouldn't buy chicks. That's a good point. Like, so if you're on the fence about animals and what to do, and you're looking at chickens, or even if you're looking at ducks or things. Now, people will warn you about getting laying-aged animals or older animals from people, and you do have to be careful about like who you're getting them from and the condition the animal looks. But if the feathers look nice and the animal looks well kept and well groomed, you're going to know if there's issues with an animal a lot of times by the way they look on the outside,
and how they're acting, just a lot of things.
So, but get the older ones because then you're not going to have to deal through some of the stuff. And the thing about it is if you've looked into chicks and you're not prepared for chicks, if you've never raised chickens, you're talking about some sort of heat source, whether that's a heat lamp.
You got to have a tub thing for them.
A brooding box.
Yeah, a brooding box. You've got to have the bedding for it, the heat source.
The specialized feeders and waterers because they're little, and then you have to upgrade later.
Yeah.
So if you buy the adult chickens,
all I see is dollar signs. Whew.
That's what took us so long to get the chickens. Is we're like, man, this is expensive to start with chicks because you think chicks are cheap. Chicks are cheaper, obviously, but by the time you buy all the necessary equipment and the specialized food that you may not even need the whole bag of if you're only raising a handful of chicks, then you could get to a point where you're like, this is so expensive. Why would I ever want to start this? Because I'll never get my money back on eggs. But once you've got your own chickens, now I can see putting the money in. Yeah. But when you're not sure, it's hard to put that money down.
Yeah. Sure. So if you're laying on the edge of, do I get chickens, do I not, and you're only looking at chicks, go ahead and look at finding some laying hens. Now, you can find tons of them for sale online, this or that. You will see a lot more roosters for sale.
Oh, yeah.
But, that's just how it goes. People buy the straight runs.
You don't need a rooster for eggs.
No, you don't.
No. Now, sometimes it can be hard to get a hen to lay before there's a rooster, or unless there's another chicken laying already. But you can also get the ceramic, fake eggs and put those in, and then that can sometimes get them to lay. But you don't need a rooster to get a chicken to lay.
No, we do not have a rooster, and we bought laying hens, and they've laid.
Yeah, but raising them from chick, people worry about that. But you shouldn't need, especially depending on the breed you get. If you get Rhode Island Reds or a high laying chicken, you're not gonna need that. It's all about fertilizing. Yeah, and sometimes a rooster will make the hens feel safer. But you can also just get a bigger chicken. Like we do have our Copper Maron is the biggest chicken we have, and I do think that like she's
Big
like
Bertha.
the powerhouse. Yeah, she runs the coop, and the other chicken seems secure because she's around. You know, and she's a lot braver than them. They'll all run off, and she's like, "What? What do you want?"
She comes up to the door and's like, "Hey, you giving me anything?"
Yeah, she wants an apple. But yeah, so I just go ahead and do it and start. Like you just got to think about the way that you want to start, like what animals you want, and you know maybe you even go visit somebody that you know that has those animals, and that'll help you figure out if you want it. But it is going to be different than the animals you've had before if you've never had a farm animal. But like if you're worried about this, know that you're not alone. Like if you're sitting there like, oh my gosh, should I do this? Like, I'll be honest. Like I like the idea of the dairy goat still. I'm not in a place to get something, as we've already said, like with the pigeons and things. Like we're not in a place right now to add more animals. But even as somebody with 23 animals, with you know a whole background of farming and raising animals, raising chickens, and then growing up on a place that had goats and chickens and geese and everything. I mean, we had all of it when I was. We had like 10 dogs in the backyard, right? Like it was ridiculous what my parents set up when I was a little kid. But you know, we still question, like, should we do this, right? And it seems like you see other people do it too, like that are on YouTube that are already have like even more animals than we do. I mean, like I said, we have 23 animals and we still question it. Yeah. There's people with way more than we have. But the difference between people that are doing what they're doing and people who aren't is that they didn't just sit around and research and hesitate. Yeah. They went out and they got the animals that they wanted and they did. Yeah.
They learned what would fit them and then they went out and got it.
Yeah. And they started, most likely, I can't speak for all these people, but like they started with one. Yeah. They started not just one singular animal, but one species.
Yeah. One breed.
Well, I had a hard time saying breed because you could have multiple breeds of chickens or whatever, but like they started with a species of chickens or rabbits. And then once they got comfortable with that animal, they added the next. And once they had that system figured out, because it is a system. Their daily chores become a system. Yeah. And you need to have what you can do and what you are doing established and know that, and even know the feeding costs. Yeah. Like, and that's easily readable online. Rabbits, for the most part, size plays an impact in this. If you get a Flemish giant, they'll obviously eat more. But the average for a rabbit is $60 a year. Yeah. $60 a year. That's no money. Yep. You know? And so you can find all the figures. I was reading about goats, and it's like $600 a year. But when you break that, sounds like a lot of money, especially compared to rabbits. You're talking about 10 times as much as a rabbit. But when you break it down, it's not that much a month. My brain is not at the point right now to be able to do that kind of math. But it's really not that much money a month, and you can do that research for any animal.
It's like $50 a month.
Yeah, which is, you know, that's not far off of what your dog could be. But you figure out those costs ahead of time, and then as soon as you know, like, I can afford this, and I can afford the place to keep it, whether that's a hutch, a coop, a run, a fenced-in area, if it's a goat or whatever, like, you do that study, you know, you figure it out, and the moment you know, I know pretty much what it takes to raise this. You'll never know everything it takes until you have it, because nobody can tell you that online. Yeah. In a short format.
Again, nothing beats hands-on experience.
No.
Nothing.
No, like, you become a better farmer every day. You become better at the relationship you have with your animals and your plants every single day. And that doesn't mean the research stops. If you buy a goat, I'm telling you, go out and, like, if you want to buy the goat, like if I buy a goat, that doesn't mean I'm no longer going to look up like goat care videos or like what you should do for them, because I've learned things about the rabbits since we've had the rabbits, you know, not just from doing, but from continued research. Yeah. So the main thing is to stop daydreaming about it and just start doing it, because there's a good chance you could captivate your life with something. And then, like, you think you build your whole life up to that point of, like, this is what we're doing. And you finally do it, and you're like, this was a mistake.
I do not like this.
Yeah. I don't think that's going to be the case. I don't think that's the case for most people. But it's just something to consider.
Yeah. So keep it simple and just do it.
Yep. Keep it simple, stupid. That's the best thing that you can do, is the KISS method. Is just,
or if you're my French teacher, keep it simple, sweetie.
Well, I like to actually more like keep it stupid, simple. So it's not that you're stupid, but that some stupid person can come behind you and do it. Now, if you're watching and like you don't like your kids, you're stupid. I apologize, but you know,
we try hard to not say that around Oliver, because
Because you'll use it incorrectly.
Yeah.
Like, I don't mean it in anything mean, but you do want to just dumb things down so that way it's a simple process and it's easy and anybody can do it behind you. But I think that's really all we got to say on that subject. We kind of bounced around and took rabbit trails. There's a rabbit farm. Like, I guess that's kind of expected, right? But I think that hopefully you found some valuable information in that whole discussion, you know.
Yeah, hopefully this helped build that courage that you needed and you go out and get that animal.
Yeah, and let us know. Like, if you're listening to this podcast, let us know. We want to hear about what animals you decide to get or what you already have. You know, like, we like hearing what other people are doing because that helps us do better at what we are, or maybe shows us something that we didn't know that we could do.
Yeah,
like,
helps inspire us.
Yeah, I mean, like, we're the weird animal farm, right? But the weird farm animals. It's not like we have a monkey in the backyard.
Yeah.
Like, we have animals that seem odd in some instances, but actually make really great farm animals and decent pets. Yeah. You know?
I mean, Oliver was holding that bunny. It was so huge in his little arms. And he holds the chickens. Like,
they're pets.
They're pets.
But they also are utility.
Yes. They serve a purpose.
But no, I think, like, on a whole other subject, now that we've kind of wrapped that up, I do enjoy doing this on Monday nights. I think it's nice to reflect over, like, the week that we've had, because it's easy to forget, like, what did we do? You know, like, what impact did we make? Because you got so many projects. And that's, like, if you get animals, you'll learn that. Like, we did a ton of stuff tonight, and I still have a ton of stuff left to do. And I'm happy to do it. But it is like, I was wrapping up, and I'm like, I have to go inside. But there's so many things that I want to do.
Yeah. Well, there's, like, things that I want to do. We've got this big stack of pallets. We can use those for raised beds, use that wood and all that. I thought about building window boxes for these 2 windows out here. But, like, I have to get out there and do it. But it's a little hard to work with power tools around a 3-year-old because he wants to work with power tools.
Yeah, you have to be careful on that one.
So I don't want to tackle any of that by myself. But then when you get home, it's farm time.
Yeah. That's when the doors open to actually get projects done. But, you know, it's nice to be able to reflect on it and think about what we're going to do next week. You know? Or, well, this week, I guess. Depends on how you want to look at it.
Doing it this next week.
Yeah, what we're going to do moving forward, which I don't even know where the list begins on some of that stuff, because we've got to get into the rhythm of spending time with Rose, the new Angora rabbit, and figuring out how this whole situation is going to play out in the end.
Thankfully, there's beautiful weather ahead. Sadly, tomorrow is going to be extremely busy during the day for me. So nothing will really get accomplished until the evening.
That's my life every day. So I understand that completely. Like, I don't get to be the stay-at-home mom. So I understand completely what it's like to be busy all day.
Listen, y'all. If you can do it, be a stay-at-home wife. Do it. If your household can afford it, there's nothing better.
It's a great benefit as the husband, so I can't say much. Money's
he comes
nice.
Home. There's food. All the grocery shopping's done. Like, all the normal household stuff that needs to get done gets done before he's home.
Yeah, which gives us the ability to farm. I mean, like, we really would be a lot harder if we didn't have this setup that we have.
Yeah.
But I think that's really going to do it for this week. If you enjoyed this, please subscribe. We're going to try to do this every week, like we've already said. Like, I'm excited. We're getting into the best time of the year. It's not the best farming time of the year, but I think that's why God gave us Christmas. Is because you can't really grow much and your animals aren't doing much. So here's a great holiday to enjoy. And to just, you know, be thankful. It's a great, I don't want to skip Thanksgiving and get grilled by anybody. I'm so thankful, especially with all that we've been able to accomplish this year on the farm, and, you know, the things that we're going to be
really
able to do
looking forward to our wonderful meal with our families.
Incorporating at least some eggs.
Yes.
From the farm.
Yeah. Probably some deviled quail eggs, because, y'all, they're yummy.
They are good.
They're so good. And they're cute and tiny and bite size, even better than a chicken egg. Like, you get a chicken deviled egg, and you got to take like 2 bites a lot of times, unless you're Justin.
Yeah. Like, I was like, I don't know what you're talking about. But the nice...
You got to take 2 bites. But the other
quail
ones...
eggs just pop. Boop, boop. But, and if you did like it, you know, subscribe, like, comment, and share with somebody else that you think might like this, because that's the only way that we're going to be able to grow, you know, quickly. We're going to try to share and do social media and eventually do the YouTube thing, which is a lot harder.
Yeah. Like, tried to do that today, but with power washing that at Hutch,
it just wasn't the best kind of video to make.
Yeah.
It's a difficult thing to film. But, like, once we get to do the soil test and we do some of the other projects and things and figuring out how we want to film, because, like, I'm not the best vlogger, and then, like, how you can film me and get me to interact with the camera, and just breaking through that initial barrier.
Yeah.
But we'll get there. That's
getting in a rhythm of setting up cameras or
Yeah.
phones or something to get fun angles and things, because I am a photographer, so like I want it to look nice, and you enjoy videography.
Yeah, I enjoy the concept.
Yeah.
In practice, it's a little bit harder. Yeah.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of work to be done and a lot of things that can benefit others, or if we do something wrong and somebody can tell us, that's even better.
Yeah.
You know? Like,
help us learn.
But yeah, I think that's all that we've got for this week, and I want to close out with a Bible verse. And I was a little bit more proactive this week and try to think of something that had a little bit more to do with the subject of all this, which is farming and growing and things like that. And I've got Jeremiah 17:7-8. It says, "But blessed are those who trust in the Lord and have made the Lord their hope and confidence. They are like trees planted along a riverbank with roots that reach deep into the water. Such trees are not bothered by the heat or worried by long months of drought. Their leaves stay green and they never stop producing fruit." And I think that's something that you do see. Like, the more water, the richer the soil, the better the growth. And that's how we are when we draw close to God.
Yeah.
It's like drawing close to the water, which is the lifeblood of everything on this planet. So draw close to God and you'll grow well, and then maybe you'll be blessed to grow great crops.
Yeah.
I don't really know how else to tie that up in a bow, but y'all have a great day and God bless.
God bless.